Why is Jewish the only religion that is also an ethnicity? It isn't. Jews are just the most well-known ethno-religious group. The Druze are probably the second most well-known example of a group that's defined both by their ethnicity and their religion. But there are other groups that could also be classified as ethno-religious, such as Parsis in India. In ancient times, it was actually the norm for each ethnic group to have their own religion. But in the past few centuries, most of those unique ethnic religions were replaced by Christianity, Islam and Buddhism. Well, the answer is it isn't. There are a bunch, and you can find examples here. Another common group of that type that can be found in the West are the Sikhs. But there are plenty more in the Middle East, such as the Druze, the Parsis, and more. The confusion, I think, stems from the two largest religions on earth being universalist religions. Christianity and Islam both believe they have a message for all people on earth, and their goal is to convert all people to their faith, with caveats, yada yada. In contrast, Judaism just doesn't really have much to say about most of humanity, just its own members. But in that, as I said, it's not alone among religions. It's just a different understanding. I can't remember where I read this, but I have heard it said that the best description for Jews is as a tribe. Yes, the same as a Native American tribe. You can believe in Cree or Navajo mythology as much as you like, but unless you follow the rules the Cree or Navajo set for this purpose, you can't become Cree or Navajo. Likewise, if you were born to the tribe, you remain part of the tribe no matter what you do. And it doesn't matter if you don't believe in the mythology. The only difference is that you could theoretically be, say, Christian and still be a member of the tribe, as far as I understand. For Jews, if you actively decide to believe in a different religion, you don't really count as Jewish anymore, and neither will your children. You can, however, be atheist or agnostic, and your children will still be Jewish as long as their mother is Jewish. For Orthodox Judaism, the strictest and most traditional version, stares in Hindu. It's not a universal religion the way Christianity or Islam are. The Jewish God is there for his chosen people and nobody else. While Christians believe that salvation is available to all, there is no such concept in Judaism. Notice how there is zero focus on converting the non-believers. You can convert, but nobody is going to try to convince you to. Christians and Muslims, on the other hand, are very focused on saving the non-believers. So yes, it's an ethno-religion, with a message strictly aimed at a very small ethnic group and no ambition to spread that message further. Jews are called Jews BC. They lived in the Kingdom of Judea. This kingdom was made up of Jewish tribes. In much of modern society, tribal identity isn't really used or understood. So terms like race, ethnicity, etc. take their place. It's hard to explain an ancient Middle Eastern tribal culture in today's terms, and hard to understand exactly how it works. One can be an atheist and still Jewish, and one could practice all the rituals of Judaism but not actually be a part of the tribe. It's complicated. This is just the very beginning of an explanation. And as always, other Jews will have other opinions. I would think Shinto qualifies. It's not. There are loads. Most peoples have traditional religious beliefs that are linked with their ethnic identity. The unusual thing about groups like the Jews is maintaining or adapting such old religious ethnic tribal identities in the midst of empires, nation-states, and proselytizing and persecuting religions that have tended to dissolve such things. The fact that this has been a struggle is pretty strongly reflected in Jewish people's own histories and memories. Most peoples of the ancient world, Near East, Europe, North Africa, were largely absorbed into religious groups that ironically derived from the same belief family as Judaism. So while the Germans, Greeks and even the mighty Romans lost their gods, no one could crack the Jews. To dune degree, the status of Judaism as the original form of monotheism said to have helped the Jews to avoid the fate of mass conversion much of the time. There is often a certain respect among Muslims and Christians for Jews that is rarely shown to pagans. But of course, the liminal position of being not quite in-group also allowed for terrible moments of cleansing. The comparison to China and India is particularly interesting to me. Both cultural spheres have retained a large degree of religious autonomy as well as a degree of integration of religious and ethnic identities, but did so in very different circumstances from those of the Jewish people in the West. It's not. You just are probably only comparing it to Islam and Christianity, which are famous for forcefully converting millions of people to them with the threat of violence. Jews, as a rule, don't proselytize. They've generally been very separate from society, avoided intermarriage, and it's historically been very hard to convert. All of this means there a ton of cohesiveness for a group that has been dispersed throughout the world. This can be shown with traditions as well as genetic markings. Point of clarification. I'd say Jews are less a single ethnicity than a set of interconnected ethno-religious groups, each of which are cohesive and are about as cohesive with each other as Jews were with their host communities. They're not the only one. There's other ethno-religions out there, such as the Druze and the Copts and Gypsies. Most indigenous, tribal groups have sets of religious beliefs and practices that are unique to them. There's just not a separate name for the religion versus the people. For example, traditionally, the Hopi people practiced their own religion with its specific theology and rituals. Same with the Sami people. Same with pre-colonial Maori, etc., etc. In a lot of these cases, the religion gets called animism, but that's a category like monotheism is a category. It's not the name of the particular religion. Jewish religion is only thought of differently because of its historical relationships with Christianity and Islam. But, ultimately, it's the same: the traditional, ongoing, and evolving, changing practices of a tribal group. Jewish was originally meant to be the people from the tribe of Judah, or inhabitants of the kingdom of Judah. The religion is called Judaism. Language is Hebrew. You've got a step of the box of Europe and the Western world. Then you'd realize pretty much every tribal identity comes with their own spiritual beliefs. From Native Americans to Africans to Middle Eastern, South Asian groups like Sikhs and Jain. They're the largest ethno-religious group, but not the only one. There are others such as Druze and Samaritans. They're just the only major ethno-religion practiced in many places around the world. There are definitely others. A long time ago, most religions were only practiced by a specific ethnicity. Judaism is a Bronze Age polytheistic religion that's been sanded down over the millennia until it was monotheistic. One of the major traits of religions from that time period is that they're specific to a given people. You believe in the Jewish religion because you're Jewish, the same way you would believe in the Greek pantheon because you're Greek, with different deities having more importance because you're from this polis or that polis. Religions back then didn't really proselytize because that just wasn't a useful framework. Everyone's gods existed and had more power than morals. There's evidence that Judaism is just the surviving part of a broader and shared Semitic tradition. And I woke hazard a guess that the persecution over the ages is a big part of why their faith kept the exclusionary practices that other Abrahamic traditions did not. To become Jewish, you are born of a Jewish mother. To become Christian, you need to be baptized. Jewish men have historically had children with exclusively Jewish women to maintain religion. Therefore, Jews are themselves a race. Even though they don't necessarily have a country they originate from. Israel is the closest thing. And if I remember correctly, all Jews can gain Israeli citizenship if they want. Meet Armenians, Maronites and the other Eastern churches. Going on a tangent, it seems to be the case in the past that when a Jew became Christian or Muslim, they or their immediate descendants would lose their Jewish identity and become assimilated into the surrounding Gentile communities of their new religion. But in modern times, when, for example, atheists of a Jewish background do not lose their Jewish identity, surely this would mean that a Jewish convert to Christianity, Islam or any religion for that matter can still identify as a Jew? For that matter, do we know of such self-identification among modern converts with a Jewish background? Redditors who fit this demographic, if by the rare chance you come across this comment, you are welcome to reply. I think Hindus are too. Sikhs?
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. TooAfraidToAsk is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.